Who are my top 3 wide receivers in the 2020 rookie wide receiver class? I got them right here. I'm going to talk about each one of them. And I'm going to be on the Pat Mayo Experience on Tuesday talking about the top 10 rookie wide receivers. And you're going to hear me talk up Jeudy, Ceedee Lamb, and Mims as my top 3. Let's get into these 3 rookie wide receivers. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.
Take a lap. Jeudy has it all. There's no red flags with him. He passes the eye test. To me, the talent is there. My eyes don't lie to me. Jeudy has elite, and I'm talking wide receiver 1 in fantasy type value from a talent perspective. The measurables are there, 6'1", 195 to 200. I think he could play at 200 pretty easily. His 40 was great. He's quick. Statistically, everything's lining up. 77 receptions, 1163, and 10 TDs in 2019. That's a fantastic college season. Sharing targets with Ruggs. And I'm going to tell you one real important factor, that he came out of the combine probably the star of the combine in terms of interview. Character is a big thing when you compile it all together. He's a hard worker. He might just be the next DeAndre Hopkins. Where he lands could determine how quickly he gets there, but I consider Jeudy a can't-miss player that will find a way to be elite no matter where he lands. I hope it's somewhere where he can be a wide receiver 1 out of the gate. That will determine how quickly he progresses. Ceedee Lamb, I absolutely love. Out of Oklahoma, this wide receiver is 6'2", about 200 pounds. He's not as quick as other wide receivers in this draft class, but he doesn't need to be. He's that Larry Fitzgerald meets DeAndre Hopkins, and there's DeAndre Hopkins again being compared to both Jeudy and Lamb. Lamb is vertical. Jeudy can be dangerous all over the field, but vertical as well. But Lamb is the guy that's going to go up and get any contested pass, and I think he's going to be elite at the next level. I feel like Jeudy might be a little bit more situation proof, but Lamb in the right environment could be a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy for a decade. I was really hoping Lamb would land in Arizona before they acquired DeAndre Hopkins. Now that looks like it's probably out. Oakland would be a good spot for either Jeudy or Lamb. Maybe Houston gets in the mix somehow with the trade. But the next guy on my list is capable of climbing all the way up to rival Jeudy in terms of fantasy value for the now and the future. Denzel Mims out of Baylor. This wide receiver, 6'2", 206 to 210 pounds, runs a 4.3 840. He comes out of college with a stat line of 66 receptions, 1,020 yards, and 12 TDs in 2019. Great hands, great in traffic. He is, if I had to define this guy, I would say he is the one wide receiver that constantly feels like he is knifing through traffic. It's like a game of Frogger, but he always ends up on the other side in the end zone, either upright or in some acrobatic catch landing on his back. Mims is a scrappy, big dude. And there's 2 schools of thought here. A lot of people think he's going to get called for pass interference on every play. And then you have the other people that are like, hey, look, DeAndre Hopkins masters this. There are a lot of wide receivers that literally know how to push off and dominate the space around him. I think that is Mims. Mims is going to, I think, be an elite wide receiver. Like Jeudy, I think he's more capable than Lamb of navigating a bad environment, kind of being QB proof in a way because he makes his own space. But there are situations where even Jeudy and Mims would be limited more than in others. Judy's my lock. Lamb is just elite in the making, but does need somewhat the right situation to develop fast. Mims is the wild card, dangerous player in this wide receiver pool. Now, I did have Justin Jefferson at number 3. I just moved Mims up to 3. Don't sleep on Justin Jefferson because he at 6'1", 200 pounds, 4'4", 340 is quick, athletic. He's long, you could say, able to stretch and go up and get any contested pass, much like Mims can, much like Lamb can. And you could say, oh, he had Burrow force feeding him the football. Well, you could also say that Burrow had Jefferson pulling in the football. In 2019, Jefferson had 111 receptions, 1540, and 18 TDs. The guy is a machine. A big dude in the right spot will thrive. This wide receiver class is absolutely elite. And you might have people saying,
Smitty, you like them all. You're saying everyone's going to be amazing.
Well, look at the 2019 wide receiver class. DK, AJ Brown, Hollywood, McLaurin. That sophomore class is going to be insane. This class is similar. And I know you're going to ask me, where's Ruggs? And this is where I come in and say, there is a player that I'm not as high on as everybody else, and that's Ruggs. Henry Ruggs out of Alabama, who played alongside of Jeudy, walked out of 2019 with not the biggest stat line ever. You don't necessarily need the numbers to translate over and be elite. I know this is crossing over into another position, but look at Josh Jacobs in college, not utilized a ton, but comes in and becomes a feature back and looking like a top 14 overall player in 2020 at the running back position for Oakland. While I'm not super impressed by 746 yards and 7 TDs for Ruggs in 2019, it doesn't mean that I'll completely eliminate him from the idea of being a top wide receiver at the next level. But I feel more John Ross here than I do Tyreek Hill. Speed guys are fun to evaluate. They're fun to think about injecting into an offense. He'll be great on special teams. Teams might actually draft him high because of the special teams factor. But I'm not feeling that he has the ability to be as good as Jefferson, Mims, Lamb, and Jeudy. I think those guys are in a whole different tier. Claypool, Aiyuk, Higgins, all guys capable of climbing up my draft board into the 4 or 5 spot. This draft class is completely lit. You can go down to Jalen Reagor, even Gabriel Davis out of Central Florida, a guy that ranks around 9 or 10 for me, and I struggle to have him that low because if you put some weight on Gabriel Davis, who already plays like a big dude at 6'2", 216, he bulks up even more. He will be unstoppable at the next level. He just needs a team to believe in him, and all it takes is just one team. So look for Gabriel Davis to climb draft boards. Look for Brandon Aiyuk to climb my draft board and other people's draft boards. And in Dynasty, Davis and Aiyuk you can get off of waivers still in medium-sized Dynasty leagues. They're not even taken. Grab them. Claypool feels like that DK meets Mike Evans type wide receiver that if in the right spot like DK landed in, Claypool could thrive. Put him in Green Bay. That would be something to watch. Ceedee Lamb, Mims, there you have it, my top 3. Look for a more detailed breakdown on these top 10 wide receivers in the Pat Mayo Experience show. Tuesday, I believe, is when it will be released on the DraftKings YouTube page. You can be sure I'll link to it and point you guys in the right direction when that does come out. Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show.
Smitty.